Okay. Okay, I think we're all set. Does everyone see my slides now? Okay. Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning for July's Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee meeting. Just as a reminder, please be sure if you're not speaking to mute your microphone. And you don't have to use your camera if you don't want to, but we do enjoy seeing you when you do talk. And we are being live streamed and recorded. So some COVID-19 updates for CDTC. We are eager to open up for in-person meetings and start getting together again, but we haven't changed our policy yet. We are going to remain virtual until we get further guidance from the New York State Association of MPOs, because we want to be able to continue to offer virtual attendance options, but to also have people meet in person. So once we get that figured out and we understand what technology we need and how to do that, we will be having in-person meetings. We're currently in phase 3 of reopening, which means we're at about 50% capacity. We have alternating shifts at CDTC. So people are in the office every day of the week, but it's not all of the staff. So today our featured presentation is going to be by Lauren Alpert from the City of Albany, and she is going to present on the Lark Street Improvement Study. So Lauren, I'll stop sharing my screen and you should be able to share yours.
Okay, I am unmuted now. Are you seeing my screen like kind of in the presentation mode, not presenters mode? Okay, great. So thank you, Jen, for inviting me to speak about the Lark Street Improvement Study. As she said, my name is Lauren Alpert. I think I've met many of you over the years. I'm the principal planner with the City of Albany's Department of Development and Planning. So I'm going to talk about the Lark Street Improvement Study that happened primarily in 2019 from about January, February 2019 through pretty much the start of the pandemic. Actually, we wrapped up around February, March 2020. So we had a number of project partners, the Lark Street Business Improvement District, and some specific businesses on Lark Street, Pine Size, Three Fish, and the Poke Bar, the Albany Parking Authority, Empire State Development, the Albany County Department of Health, Capital Roots, and the consultants for the project were Bergman and Associates and Land Art Studio. So the study area primarily consisted of Lark Street from Madison Avenue to Washington Avenue. So this was our primary area of where we were concentrating, where we were looking at doing improvements. To kind of establish some baseline existing conditions, we did look at the surrounding area for parking counts and socioeconomic data. So what were the goals of the study? So the goals, there were a lot of goals of the study. It was pretty broad, but we were looking at beautifying the streetscape, establishing gateways, support safe travel for multiple modes, enhancing parking access, strengthening connections to the park and downtown, so Washington Park, and creating a strong sense of place. So for our purposes today, I'm gonna kind of focus on supporting that safe travel for multiple modes. So we were looking at improving access, safety, and user experience for all modes of transportation, including pedestrians, cyclists, transit riders, and motorists. So like with any study, we kind of looked at some of the existing conditions. in the neighborhood. We looked at the high population growth of the area around Lark Street for residential, 36, higher concentration of young adults compared to the rest of the city. And with that, we also saw a greater 30% residents in the area walk to work versus compared to the rest of the city, where you had 11% walking to work as of 2017. And we only saw that trend rising versus decreasing. So we wanted to make sure that we did focus on that pedestrian access. So for public outreach for this, we looked at we did a number of different tactics. So we did a number of stakeholder interviews. We talked to over 40 businesses on Lark Street. We did one-on-one meetings with stakeholder groups and like the neighborhood associations, Washington Park Neighborhood Association, Center Square, Hudson Park, Park South, and other kind of institutions in the neighborhood like the Washington Park Conservancy, Walkable Albany, and we spoke with Albany County and CDTA as well, the Capital District Transportation Authority. And our public outreach kind of focused on doing activities on the street. So we looked at doing open storefront pop-ups and demonstration projects, and I'll focus on those two today. So we wanted to kind of reach people, kind of what I say is where they work, live and play. So we did 3 open storefronts at a variety of businesses on Lark Street. So we looked at 3 Fish Coffee, the Lark Street Poke Bar, and Pint Size. So, we did at different times of day. So at 3 Fish and the downtown, we were there from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. to kind of get the breakfast and lunch crowd. Poke Bar, we were there 12 to 5 to get primarily the lunch crowd from the state and other workers nearby. And Pint Size, we were there in the afternoon and evening hours from 4 to 8, and beers were optional for those that were attending. And we found that we really got kind of a diverse group of people that would not normally attend a, would necessarily come to a planning meeting or a public meeting, wouldn't necessarily even register on their radar. We'd often were just kind of grabbing people that were walking by that were curious of what we were doing with all of these Post-its and boards on the street. And we were able to kind of get their opinion and get their thoughts as we started the study. Let's see. So another tactic that we used was doing a demonstration project. So for 1 week long, September 2nd, 2019 through October 6th, 2019, we kind of modeled the 6-foot wide curb extensions at Lark Street and State Street and Lark Street and Hudson Street. And we staffed those sites 2 times. Started the project or started the demonstration on Monday, September 30th, and then at the Friday, October 4th from 4:30 to 7, which coincided with the First Friday event that happens in Albany, or has happened in Albany. And we had a lot of different materials that we had gotten from the Albany County Department of Health Complete Street Lending Library. We also used some stencils from Capitol Roots to kind of decorate the space, make it a little more lively. We had some cornhole, some cafe seating. We had boards set up and survey and kind of a flyer for people to take away with more information about the study and where they can give some input. And then we coordinated, kind of set up with the Albany County Department of Health and picking up the materials, and the City of Albany's Division of Traffic and Safety helped us lay down kind of cones and barrels, and then Bergman Associates and Land Art and the city kind of placed, we used white duct tape and bollards to delineate the space. And then the final recommendations of the study kind of came out with, doing those curb extensions, reducing curb radii, doing sidewalk expansions, potentially raise intersections, and looking at some spaces for new crosswalks. And I wanted to leave some time for questions at the end. If there are any, I can also go a little more in detail about the demonstration project and some tips that I kind of learned from doing this and doing them in a few additional demonstration projects that we've done as the city with the bicycle and pedestrian master plan is that, you want to make sure you have your materials way ahead of time. I think we were one of the first with this project to use some of the materials from the Complete Streets Lending Library. So as we were setting up on Monday morning, we were screwing together the cafe seating chairs because they were still in boxes. And, you kind of want to keep it simple in terms of staffing. I think doing the 2 staffing days was a little bit of an overextension. But yeah, no, overall, we got really positive feedback with the demonstration project. For the most part, the barrels that were laid out there were undisturbed, except for kind of at the ends where people were moving them to park in the evening on occasion, just a little inch or so. But for the most part, we received really positive feedback overall as the project's now moving forward too.
Lauren, when you were setting up the demonstration project, how far in advance did you notify the community, and how did you give them a heads up that this was going to happen?
So we had maybe we coordinated with traffic and safety, so the no parking signs went up in those intersections about 4 or 5 days ahead of time. And we had been communicating kind of consistently with the Lark Street Business Improvement District, who was communicating with a lot of the businesses. And we did do some drop-ins before. And then we also, a couple of days before installation, we put up, I have the signs right behind me, actually. We kind of put up these on pedestrian levels. I don't know if you can see me pointing here. Let me see if I can grab a pointer here. Laser pointer. We grab these, kind of put these pedestrian signs up. And then we also have kind of bigger print, more auto-oriented signs. And if you look behind me, I still kind of have them here in the office. So they were pretty large. We found it was an effective way to kind of reach people. We would see that I would drive by and see people reading them. And it also had, the website on it where people could learn more if we weren't actually there staffing the site, because we didn't want to leave too many materials out when we weren't there.
So for implementation, you said the project is moving forward. What is the status, and what's the timeline, and which recommendations are being implemented?
We're looking at doing, in terms of what I've talked about today, we're looking at doing the curb extensions. This was seen as kind of a long-term, 20, 30-year plan. And the city does have some funding for, repaving right now. So the city, this engineering department of the city of Albany is kind of bringing on a consultant and looking at doing design and including those curb extensions and the additional sidewalk space.
Great. Thanks. Does anyone on the Zoom, do you have any questions or comments for Lauren?
I'm just going to say, this is really impressive. Oh, sorry. This is gorgeous work. I love your presentation and I love what you've done there. We're hoping to do also a demonstration project, somewhat like this, probably smaller in scale, up in Corinth, coming up hopefully next month. So yeah, this is really helpful to see in person. Did a lot of people stop? Were people really curious and interested, or?
People were curious. Yeah. We had a lot of people kind of stop and ask questions and look at the boards and just kind of what's going on? What is this? And so it's a good way of grabbing people. I don't know. I'm starting to think that, the way to start project and doing outreach is just take away everyone's parking first, and then that gets everyone's attention. So yeah, it definitely draws people in that just are curious, because what are all these people standing around on the street for with balloons and posters and all of that. I think we had someone that came and tried, they helped us paint stencils on the street as we were kind of setting up. So it was a good way to kind of engage the community.
as we like compete for people's attention and try to get them to come to like your traditional public meeting just with, you know, press releases and stuff, it, you know, those seem to be less effective, and these kinds of engagement strategies seem to be a little bit more helpful.
Yeah, and
I'm very much impressed by the outreach and by the project, and I think where you're headed. I have one additional suggestion for the next stage. The section which was put in with cobblestones is really difficult with a bicycle, particularly on a wet day. And I've heard it's difficult with high heels, which I don't wear, but others might. There are these much less expensive surfaces that imprint the look of a brick
yeah,
crossing, and they're much more effective and much less troublesome for others. As a very old Hungarian, the cobblestones are only useful when insurrection takes place. And you pry them up with a tire iron. Very useful in
well,
those times in Budapest.
thank you for that insight, Ivan. The plan is, I think, to remove them and potentially repurpose them in some of these curb extension areas. But the plan right now, to my knowledge, is to remove the Belgian blocks from the intersections. You know, I think they were put there as to be decorative and potentially as to calm traffic. And I think we found that they are not really effective in slowing traffic. And we think the curb extensions and the narrowing will kind of accomplish that without the detriment to not only is it potentially dangerous for bicycles, but people in wheelchairs and people's carriages or shopping carts also have difficulty navigating those. And we found that during the study. We heard that a lot from people. So I think the intention is to remove those, potentially repurpose them in those curb extensions so they still would be available to pry up with a crowbar during any insurrection. But I don't think, as a representative of the city, I would encourage that.
It's only half a joke.
I know.
It has been done in many European cities. It's tradition.
I don't think I could support that officially, though.
I remember it's being recorded.
Does anyone else have any other questions for Lauren?
Lauren, what was the total cost? And then just a little breakdown on what the pop-ups cost you.
The total cost of the study, it's been a number of years, but I think it was about $75,000. I will double check on that and send an email to Jen for some clarification. We got a grant from Empire State Development and matching funds from the Business Improvement District and the Parking Authority. So those were kind of our financial partners in this project.
And what would you gauge the pop-ups to cost individual, you know, every time you set up and staffed?
I would have to look at the breakdown from the consultant budget for that, because it all came from their costs, other than our staff time. We were able to get the businesses to donate the space, and let you know, a lot of those businesses had some extra space where we could kind of set up in the corner. So like for Three Fish, if you've ever been there, you know, it's connected to the Down Tube cycle shop. So we were able to kind of set up in the back area. And Pint Size has kind of a second bigger room out, you know, in the back of their bar area. So we were kind of able to set up a little bit out of the way from normal patrons, so it didn't disturb their business. And then we were also bringing people in because we advertised this ahead of time. So we were able to partner with the businesses at no cost.
Great, very nice.
Any other questions, comments?
We had one just comment in the chat from Melissa in Glenville. She said, "This is fantastic. Lots of great ideas, and thank you for sharing."
Oh, thank you.
So Lauren will send her presentation so that we can send it out in the notes, and we'll try and get some information on some of the questions that were asked and provide that also when we send out the notes. All right. Thank you so much, Lauren.
Thanks for having me. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now.
Okay. Do people see the presentation mode, or?
Looks good.
Yeah, it looks, I think, the way you want.
Thank you, very good.
You know, every time I have a Zoom meeting, I think I've completely like nailed this, and then something happens and something changes and I don't. So the other items on our agenda today that we're gonna just briefly discuss, just an update on the 2021 Capital Coexist 2.0 mini grants, the Smart Communities Toolbox update, an update on the Ditch the Car pledge, the CDTC Technical Assistance Program, status of our various planning initiatives, New Visions 2050 implementation, updates on CDPHP cycle, and the recent, this wasn't on the agenda, but the recent TAP and CMAC announcement. So we've looked at this before, but these are the recipients of mini grants this year. All of these projects seem to be moving forward. A couple of them have been completed. The East Greenbush event was completed, and then some projects that are rolled over from last year that couldn't be completed because of COVID uncertainties. Those are also moving forward. Bethlehem had their walk and roll event. The city of Albany is moving forward, planning another demonstration, and Transport Troy has completed their mapping project. And these are just some photos from the recent event in Bethlehem. Bethlehem police set up and coordinated the event. They gave out bikes. They had a bike mechanic there fixing bikes for folks. You've probably seen the Troy Trails map by now, and they've also done some parklet projects. The Smart Communities Toolbox project is also moving forward. We've contracted with WSP and River Street Planning. And just as a reminder, the objective of this project is to explore how we can apply new and evolving technologies to the transportation system. Smart cities has kind of been a buzzword, but that hasn't really been well defined, particularly in the context of the capital region. And we'd like to define what smart cities means to us and identify some underutilized technologies that can be deployed here, whether it's to improve mobility, efficiency of the system, reduce congestion, improve safety, or just provide choices that reduce greenhouse gas emissions, like electric vehicle charging, or perhaps even e-bike charging or e-mobility device charging. So that project is moving forward. And the Ditch the Car pledge has been in progress, and Rima, I believe, is on the call. Rima, do you want to give an update on the challenge and how things are going?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Can you see me?
Yep.
Okay. So we have just about 60 participants who've enrolled in the Ditch the Car Challenge so far. I am about to do the first raffle. We're doing a monthly raffle, and I'm crunching the numbers for June to enter everybody who qualifies into the June raffle. And I've put together two sort of prize bundles to raffle off. One is sort of emphasizes like bike swag. There's a bike bottle, a bike bell, a flashing red flashing safety light, a safety vest, and messenger bag, and helmet stickers. And then the second bundle is a messenger bag, an insulated lunch bag, travel mug, earbuds, and a power charger. And so, yeah, so we're going to raffle off those bundles for June, and then every month until the challenge ends on October 8th. And I think we're up to something about, I think it's about 3,500 miles so far and several hundred trips. So it's going pretty well.
Great. I know on social media, I've noticed a lot of people using the hashtag 518 Ditch the Car and sharing, you know, their trips that they're making either by bike or bus or walking. And it's kind of fun to see how people are, you know, getting through the challenge and where they're going and which trips they're replacing. So if you,
Yeah.
Can people still join even?
Yes, absolutely. People can join all the way up until the last day. And you get entered into the raffle for every badge that you earn. And the first badge is for one trip. So if you log one trip, you get entered into the raffle for every social media post that you make with the hashtag 518 Ditch the Car. If you post a picture of your commute with the post, you get entered into the raffle. So there's a one trip badge, and then it goes up to 5, 10. I don't remember off the top of my head what the other ones are. I think 30 and then 50. And then it goes all the way up to 150. And then there's also Explorer badges that you could earn and a multimodal badge. There's standings on the Ditch the Car Challenge page. If you go to CDTC website, there's a page dedicated to the challenge, and all the standings are there. And I think the top trips earner so far has 58 trips logged, and those are trips that replace a car trip. So we're not, when you earn the badges, you're not talking about we're not talking about recreational trips. So that person you know did 48 trips so far that took a car off the road.
Great. Thanks, Rima. The next agenda item is the CDTC CDRPC Technical Assistance Program. This is a program that provides lower cost planning assistance to local governments for a number of initiatives. Previously, we had a presentation from East Greenbush on their project that they went through the technical assistance program to complete. We are continuing to accept project proposals through December 1st. If your community has a, kind of a small scale project that they're looking to work on, whether it's mapping, data collection, planning, and you would like to see if it is an eligible project or how much it might cost, you can send an email to techassist@cdrpc.org. Or you could just give our office a call and someone would be happy to talk you through it. And of course, continuing with the New Visions virtual learning series, we are doing a Complete Streets workshop, a 3-part Complete Streets workshop. We had a workshop on June 15th on the obstacles of implementing complete streets. That webinar was recorded and it's now on our CDTC YouTube channel, which is also linked to on the CDTC webpage. Today, we have a presentation actually on demonstration projects. So if you are interested, if Lauren's presentation on the Lark Street demonstration piqued your interest, you can tune in at 3:30 for more. And these presentations are being led by CDTC with a consultant staff. It's Planning for Places and Sam Schwartz Engineering. So they're going to be talking about examples of local demonstration projects, but Sam Schwartz and Planning for Places have worked all over New York and all over the country. So they have some examples from elsewhere that they thought could be interesting and applicable to the capital region that they'll be talking about. And then the last workshop in this series is Tuesday, August 17th, and it will be on open streets projects. So these are something we've seen pop up more over the last year, particularly with COVID. Some local communities have extended legislation or ordinances for the extended sidewalk cafes, which are related to these open streets. Response to open streets has been generally positive. So some communities are trying to integrate it into, general programming for the summer. So, or like the play streets concept. So if you're interested in those, there's a presentation on that in August. You do need to register for the webinars. You can do that. There's a link to that at cdtcmpo.org/NV2050. And I don't think that anyone from CDTA is on today's Zoom because they're actually getting ready right now for a press event to announce Scoot, which is the electric scooter program. So as Lindsay has mentioned before, CDTA is getting ready to, you may have seen some of the scooter racks being installed, the hubs around the region. They are installing a few hubs in the region, at least one in each of the cities, with just about 50 scooters to start out with. And we'll see how it goes. They have a pretty tight control on its use and where they can go and how fast they can go. So we'll see how this goes, but that there is a press conference today, and I'm sure you will see some more information and details on it in the news. Some good news, something we've been waiting to hear about. The governor's office announced last week that the TAP and CMAC program is announced, and there is $110 million available statewide. I know Valerie's on the call. Valerie, I don't know if they've like obligated funds per region, or if this is just each region will evaluate proposals and then the funds will just be allocated from the statewide pot. There is a webinar tomorrow. If you are interested in applying, it'll take you through the process of applying. You can get more information at dot.newyork.gov/TAP-CMAC. That this information, I can send out this flyer in a separate email so that people have it and can register for tomorrow's webinar if they are interested. And CDTC has maybe the most number of planning initiatives ongoing right now. COVID really didn't deter us from moving forward on anything. So we have a number of initiatives. All of these are listed in the planning initiatives spreadsheet that went out with the agenda and will also go out with the notes. I'll just point out some highlights from some of the projects. The Village of Bolton Spa Pedestrian and Bicycle Master Plan. The Village had an open house and did a bike lane demonstration last week or on June 30th. And we're also testing out our recently purchased eco counters on a trail there. So hopefully we'll see how that turned out. But that project is moving forward, and there's a project website there. The Federal Street Corridor study in the city of Troy is going to look at the design of Federal Street from the bridge to, I want to say 6th Avenue, I could be. And we'll look at how that segment of the roadway is serving all users and make recommendations to make it more friendly for transit users, for pedestrians, and for bicyclists. Some other projects that are moving forward, we have our local bridge report, which is evaluating the condition of bridges around the region. We are kicking off the Patroon Creek Greenway study today with our Citizen Advisory Committee. We're really excited about that project moving forward. There's a bus lane feasibility study getting started, and then we are working with Albany County to look at the feasibility of the Albany County Loop Trail. And then of course we've talked about the Smart Communities Guidebook, and there's a regional truck parking study. So in the chat, Valerie, related to the TAPCMAC, her and Audrey just talked, and they think that the regions evaluate the projects and then allocate from the statewide fund, but we'd have to check on that for sure. So we'll definitely get information if you attend the webinar on the TAPCMAC program. If you have questions about TAPCMAC, if you have a project idea, please feel free to send me an email I'll send out the flyer for the program, so you can look through the details and email the manager at DOT who's managing that program. But other than that, we don't have any additional updates from CDTC. If there's anyone who wants to give a quick update on something they're working on, you can jump in now.
Hi, this is Linda. Yesterday I just submitted a grant application for the Rensselaer County Waterfront Trail that runs between Troy and Rensselaer. And this is for raised funds, so take it out of the CMAC. It's like we've looked at TAP and CMAC before, but there's usually our project would take all the money. So hopefully we can get money this way and save that money for other people.
So it's the raised funds?
Yeah, the raised funds. Reinvesting American infrastructure with sustainability and equity.
Right, okay.
Linda, as you know, CDTC funded a project of potentials for that connection had been made about 15 years ago, maybe 10 years ago.
A little bit far longer than that. I hate to tell you, it's scary.
Yeah, time goes fast when you're having fun. I don't think we incorporated some of the sea level rise projections at that time. Sorry about that, but it needs to be added to those thoughts. Those older studies included.
Yep. There are places we may need to go and raise, definitely looking at making it as a paved one, if nothing else, so that it holds up. So I mean, part of it's going to need to be, we're going to need to do engineering and things like that. So that would all work out when we do the engineering.
And there is a piece that was cleaned under a Superfund fund project, coal tar removal project, which then had the base laid for a trail up on a ridge, well beyond, and that should be incorporated as part of the project.
That it is. It's mentioned in the application. We're starting actually at the Rensselaer County Public Safety Building, the jail. So there's another section that's going to be cleaned before too long. I'm hoping that gets cleaned really soon so that we don't have problems. And that's north of the bridge.
Very good. To the extent that I have, when I have time, if I have time, I'll try to make time, and I'm willing to volunteer to kibitz on this thing. I don't know if you know the word kibitz.
Yep, I do. Being a good German whose father grew up in a ghetto area, yeah.
So it's great potential for that trail.
Yes. If the city of Rensselaer side gets put together, then I mean it's going to be a way of bypassing the Dunn Memorial Bridge for many who are on the Empire State Trail, I would imagine.
And it goes right under the Livingston Avenue Bridge if we ever get that rebuilt before it falls down.
Yep.
And I just wanted to, when I went through the ongoing CDTC initiatives, I didn't specifically call out the Rensselaer Waterfront Connectivity Study. It isn't started yet, but that is, that's another project we're working on. So that goes well with the trail project.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Linda.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Anyone else have an organization or agency update that they want to share with the committee? Okay. Our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August 10th. The meeting, I actually will not be here, but Jordan is going to lead our meeting, and we're gonna talk about CDTC's initiative to build a more robust bike and ped count program, review some of the counts that we've done previously and what the trends show, and then how we can better provide data to our local governments and local organizations that are moving projects forward. As I mentioned, CDTC purchased eco counters. So we have 3 eco counters. They are the pyro boxes. So you install them on a fence post or a railing, and it detects users based on body heat. So we are testing them right now just to make sure that they're working well and to get familiar with them, to see, what their capabilities are. The eco counter has created a really great data dashboard. So as the data is uploaded, and it's automatically uploaded in real time, you can see the data and do some analysis and generate some reports. So we'll be looking for 2 trail locations to install the counters for a somewhat long-term basis, and then have an extra counter on hand to deploy as needed on a project by project basis. So Jordan is going to talk about that in some detail. So if you have a location, or if you have a project that's coming up where you may be looking to get some counts and you think there's an opportunity to work with us, you can think about that and let Jordan know next month. So meeting information on that will go out in a few weeks. So if there's nothing else, just want to thank Lauren and the city of Albany again for sharing their time this morning to talk about the Lark Street study. Just a reminder that the Complete Streets workshop, the second workshop in that series, is this afternoon. You can register on the CDTC website. And thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'm sorry for the early technical difficulties. And I hope that we can see each other again soon. Bye, everyone.